Hello and welcome back to podKast with a K. I'm your host Karla with a K, and I am back on this fine Sunday evening on WECS 90.1 FM, joined by Yami and Socheata. Yami you've met before, Socheata's new to the studio. Either way, hi, welcome.
Hello everyone.
Loud, project. This is
Hello, my name is Socheata.
All right. Hi, yes, thank you so much. So just speak up and into the microphones. Straightforward, easy does it. Hi, welcome, as we said. I guess interview time, right? New faces, we get a chance to reintroduce everyone. So please tell us who you are, what you're studying, what you're doing with your life, and because Yami has developed an interest in astrology, which I love, and Socheata likes astrology as well. We're bringing back the original question set that includes, what is your zodiac sign? So please.
I'm a sophomore. I'm business information systems. I really don't know what I want to be. I don't really need to figure that out till next year. So I'm a Leo.
I'm a Libra.
All right, that's good enough.
That's the important part.
That's the important part. So tell me, what sparked your interest in astrology? Because I know that I've always found it entertaining, but I feel like I've gotten mixed reviews through the years on whether it's worth your time to dwell on it. So now I flip it on you. Why do you care about astrology?
You want to go first, Socheata?
I can.
Speaking to the mic and loudly.
I think that, I don't know why I'm interested in it. I don't know if I believe in it. I just find it intriguing itself, like the actual content. Because I'm like, do you know me? Like, can you read me based on this chart? And I'm like, maybe some people can, maybe they can't. But I don't know how I got into either. Probably like just high school in general. People just talk about it. But I never got fixated on it generally.
Okay.
I just know my stuff.
Fair. Yummy.
So I grew up Catholic. So my mom's response to everything in life was always Jesus, right?
Right.
And so once I started exploring things, I was just kind of like, oh, maybe there's more. I don't know. I guess I just think it's interesting. I don't think it's like, true. I don't take it as like, oh my God, this is who I am. But it's interesting to see like how people share a lot of things in common from the same like zodiac things. But once one of my close friends passed, I don't know, I just kind of turned towards it more spiritually, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's dope. I think it's like really like a fun pastime. Like, oh my God, you're a Leo, I'm a Libra. Do we get along? We're about to find out. We've only been friends for 2 weeks.
Okay, fair enough. What do you mean we're about to find out?
No, but it's actually been really cool to see you guys become friends. I met Socheata earlier on. She hung out with us pretty much the entire pandemic year. Lived in my house, essentially. And seeing you guys... She was our... we were four, but we all had consistently people over. You were like probably our 10th roommate at some point. But yeah, it's been cool to see this develop, because this is a combination I never would have seen in a million years.
Me either.
But it's been really cool because you guys are so different. That's exactly what keeps all of the combos so entertaining, to like just be a fly on the wall,
I agree.
But yeah, so we have a little bit of everything, Leo, Libra, Cancer. We have 3 of the 4 elements, which is kind of dope. And we all looked at our star charts, and once you start getting deeper into them, you start seeing also the similarities that come up there. So we all have our star charts, right?
Yeah.
Shall we? Shall we discuss?
Fun fact, I didn't know that it went deeper than like the months, because I used to watch like Mexican morning shows and they'd be like, oh, Libras, Leos, today you're doing this. And then I found out through a friend over the summer that there's more. There's risings, there's descendings, there's Jupiters or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
So the only ones, I will go ahead and say, the only ones that I personally know well as to what they mean is your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising or ascendant sign.
Okay. We can do those.
Yeah. And then I also looked up what the others mean. So if we want, we can go through them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of planets and a lot of houses and a lot of stuff.
Big 3.
Yeah.
So
that's
big
all
3.
I know anyways.
All right. So do y'all know your the defining characteristics of your main zodiac sign?
I know I'm indecisive.
Okay. So
And balance.
Yeah. So you're a Libra. Libras are known for that, for being neutral. but not in the sense of a Virgo. Virgos are similar to Libras in that they also like to kind of stay in that middle ground, stay neutral, whereas a Virgo will do it for the sake of like organizational and analysis. A Libra does it not necessarily because they're indecisive, but because they genuinely do not want to decide. It's more so from the angle of not wanting to pick a side or not wanting to pick an option and just wanting the option to be. But in that, the problem becomes that by not making a decision, it seems like that is your decision. And it's not. It's literally just the lack of a decision.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you know anything about...
Inaction is action, I say.
Inaction is action. Welcome to politics through astrology.
Yeah.
You're a Leo. Do you know about being a Leo?
Yes, sadly. I was told many times.
Tell us about being a Leo.
Derogatory. No.
Please tell us about being a Leo.
No, you can do it.
So Leos are fire signs, I believe. Yes.
Very much.
Bold types, you know. It's not like you're always like, I'm right, but it's like, I told you so type energy. Some of my favorite people tend to be Leos. I think they're a good counterpart to Cancers, because Leos are kind of, I mean, they take after the lion, right? Like, they don't need to be out here being like, hey, I'm a Leo. But if someone's Leo, you'll know they're a Leo, right? It's kind of like the way in which you can command a room without necessarily being like, hello, I am in command.
Yes.
And I've talked for hours on end about being a Cancer, in which it's not about being emotional. It's about
being hated.
It's about being hated. No, it's about like having the emotions, but not wanting that to be the trait, which is funny because pretty much every Cancer I know feels that way. Much like the crab, soft inside but hard outer shell. So the emotions are there, but like that's none of y'all's business. But that's where we get into more interesting stuff whenever we start looking into our charts, particularly our moon and our rising sign.
I had to do it again. I had the wrong birth time.
That's okay. So, moon sign, your sun sign essentially is who you are. Those are the ones we just discussed. Your moon sign is how you emote, how you process things emotionally, how you feel about things. And your rising or ascendant sign is how you project yourself to the world, like that first impression type energy, right? So, do you want to start, Socheata? Since you are our new guest.
So I'm
loud and into the mic.
I'm just gonna say my entire chart. My sun is in Leo. My moon is in Aquarius, and my rising or ascending is Leo. So.
So you're a double Leo.
Yeah. So there's many Leos, huh?
So, tell me which one is in which placement.
Moon is in Aquarius. Our sun and ascending are Leo.
So because you have the same sun and the same ascendant sign, that means that the way that you present yourself to the world is the way that you actually are. You're consistently a Leo, and no, there's no misconception about it. Your moon being in Aquarius means that even though, you know, Leo's a fire sign, which means you feel strongly, you act strongly, you're hot-headed a little bit. Because your moon is in Aquarius, you're very analytical about how you process things emotionally. And it's interesting to have a passionate sign alongside a sign like Aquarius, which is an air sign. You know, it's meant to be kind of like lofty and, you know, removed from the situation. Because Aquarius are the type that think first, act second. So for you having that, what that means is that you sit there and you process what something means to you. But once you have that decision, you know what it is and you're going with it. Does this ring true at all?
I feel like it does. I feel like I'm the type of person where like, it'll take harder for me to choose choose whatever option. But like once I do that, it's harder for me to differentiate. Like if I already know, if I process all my options, I choose something, like it's so hard for me to even pick an option, but once I do, like I stick with it. So
yeah.
It makes sense. What is your response? What do you think about my
So it
chart?
made sense to me to find out that you were a Leo once I found out that you had an Aquarius placement because you know our mutual friend Fio.
Yes.
Fio is also a Leo. You guys are very different in how y'all act, but very similar in how you process things. And I think that that's where that balance is important because whereas you, like, I mean, we're talking to you right now. We can say, like, you have opinions and you're thinking them and you're processing through them. Fio's more of the type to stay quiet until she has formulated that thought. Mm-hmm. But again, once that thought has been formed, it is out there because that's what a Leo does. You know, you kind of prowl, you assess the situation, you like realize what the scene is, and that's when you act. So that was definitely like makes sense type thing. But the Aquarius thing, I was like, well, this one makes sense as well because you're not the type to like immediately like act on impulse whenever it's an emotional thing. If it's something that like you wanted to do something like just for the sake of doing something, that's whenever you're impulsive. Yeah. But not necessarily whenever like someone does something. Because in conversations and stuff like through the time that we've known each other about like our lives and like people and how like we react to circumstances in which other people are involved, you're very much the type that's like, that happened. And then it's not until later when you're like, so guys, let's talk about what happened. You know, you need time to assess.
I agree. I'll talk about my experience after like certain situations and stuff. So it makes sense.
You let it simmer. And it's interesting because as I mentioned before, I have also a double placement in Cancer. So my sun and rising sign are Cancer, but my moon is also Aquarius. So whereas Socheata and I have different placements, it's interesting to learn that we have the same format, I guess, in combination of our signs, because I understand that. And like whereas I think we were talking to different mutual friend named Men, in which something had like gone down, like some tea, like nothing important. It was inconsequential, but like someone had said something, someone had did something. Oh my God, crazy. And we were like, yeah, wild. And it wasn't until later on in the week we were like, so like about that thing that happened like 5 days ago. And Eamon was like, I tried to talk about that before, and it's like, no. Like we had to conceptualize first.
Yeah. I'm definitely wait for a reaction after a certain event before I talk.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'll lay low until I see how other people react. But like I know like my reaction isn't gonna like change because of other people.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I think what I think, but I want to make sure that is what I am thinking, if that makes sense, right? Because it's easy to act rash because of like your first like your first instinct, but you know, think through the power of words.
Yes.
Yami, what are yours?
So I am all over the place. My sun is in Libra, obviously. Mm-hmm. My moon is in Virgo, and my rising is in Gemini.
Virgo. We talked about the contrast of Virgos and Libras, so you have both of them.
I have Libra,
and
Virgo,
you have Gemini.
And Gemini. Yeah.
That's interesting because at the very least
Red
between
flag.
Yes, first of all, because of the Libra and Gemini thing, you have two like dual placements, because Libra, again, the scale, like you have the reputation for being indecisive, for not wanting to decide. You're consistently weighing options. And what a Gemini is as well is someone who does not want to stick to one perspective. Obviously, like in negative terms, it would be being two-faced, but in positive or neutral terms, it's being multifaceted. So you very much are the type of person, and I know this to be true because of who you are and who I've known you to be. You're very much the type of person that's going to kind of see a situation, not necessarily like as an outsider, but from the perspectives of everyone, and be like, oh, yep, well, none of my business. Which isn't to say you don't have opinions, because you'd be having a lot of opinions. I do. But I think that because you have Libra and Virgo, and Gemini in your big three, that's why I think you also don't shy away from saying what you're thinking to whoever. And we've also talked about, like, you know, learning.
I have no filter.
Yeah, there's
She
no
literally
filter.
this morning she goes, "You snore."
Literally, said when she woke up.
Good morning, nah. Not happy Easter, nah.
No,
you
you
snore.
Literally, and I was like, "Dang."
But yeah, so like, do you guys resonate with any of the things that we have said?
I think so. I think for me, like, something that I've learned is to always kind of put yourself in other people's shoes. So, like, if a situation goes down in, like, I don't know, in any friend group or, like, in any situation worldwide, it doesn't matter. I, like, look at both perspectives, and my mind just automatically creates a list of, like, pros and cons for both sides.
Yeah.
So that's just what I do automatically. But then I'm like, but, you know, it's not my tea. It's not my business. So unless you ask for my opinion, I won't give it. Unless it's something like that, like, it's dear to my heart, then I'll say it regardless.
Right.
And then that's when people say I have no filter, because, like, if I don't like something someone does, I'll say it. Like, I'm like, that's not cool. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, you're rude, or you're X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, I just really don't care. Like, that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be deeper than that. It can literally just stand as is.
Yeah.
Which, you know, not everyone has to think the same way.
Yeah.
Never that.
Obviously,
But
yes.
Alas, very cool stuff. I think that we should take a song break. I have a song for us. We will be listening to Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac, because in general, it's a good song. It's been in my head, but I was doing online driver safety course, because that's apparently a thing you have to do to get your license in Connecticut. And
Not
the
defensive driving.
exactly, and so the lady's name was Rhiannon, and I was like, just kind of humming along to the song in my head, and I was like, why is that song stuck in my driving lady? So in the spirit of getting that out of my head, here is Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. It's no out of my head, it's actually more in my head, but good song, right?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
so on to the next stuff. No segue for you today, just vibes. Socheata has the habit of asking questions out of nowhere. We will all be chilling, we will all be sitting there, we're all just straight vibing, and just letting me out of nowhere, random question like, you know, what do you guys think about, like, global warming and how that affects the fact that, like, we're eating pears right now? Something like that. Something completely unrelated to no conversation.
I can talk about global warming and then talk about money laundering and then go to taxes.
But then
talk about Social
also
Security.
be like, what do you think about that tree?
Yeah, I'll be like, smash or
Smash or
pass,
pass.
tree.
Tree edition. So in the spirit of that, as we were trying to figure out which one of Socheata's infamous questions should we discuss on air today, hot takes came up.
Yes.
We have hot takes, so I let you lead this convo now.
Gatekeeping. I think there's healthy gatekeeping.
I agree.
Elaborate, please.
Okay. For me personally, it's like culturally significant, or like instruments. Like certain, like, basically that's it. Like, I don't know, like in Cambodia it's very important, like, having certain, like, instruments and, like, music in, like, our weddings and stuff, and, like, I don't know how I'd appreciate if someone who happened to be, like, American or white, like, used that. And, like, not understand, like, significance. So I'm like, certain, like, instruments especially, like music, because music is, like, you can't, like, music is something each culture has. Same with, like, food. Like, we bond through music, we bond through, like, food. That's just something I don't want anyone to mess with.
Right. That's fair. Yummy.
For me, the topic came when I was talking to one of my best friends, Emily, and we were just kind of talking about, like, well, I think it's like you said, it's been discussed in your podcast already, but, like, Day of the Dead, gatekeeping it, because like, obviously it's a very big tradition in Mexico, and Emily and I both have indigenous ancestry, and I think it's, like, you know, when the media kind of picks it up and like it becomes so kind of like a trend, people want to do it, but they don't understand the cultural significance behind each thing. It's like an altar and ofrenda, like what we set up, what X, Y, and Z represents, what the flower represents, the colors, the mantel, the food. Like they don't understand it, they just kind of set it up. So for me, it's like, you know, unless you like truly do like the research and educate yourself on like what the importance of each item, like the significance of the tradition, then that's fine. But if you do it in a way for it's like an aesthetic, like I just don't like Halloween, so I'm gonna do this. For me, that's kind of like, no, I would rather you not touch my tradition in that case.
Right.
And that's something I'm like very passionate about, because it's like, you know, like if you're gonna respect something, like, you know, do it correctly. But if you're just gonna like it for the aesthetics, the colors, then I'm like, no, please.
See, so this is where I think I differ, because I have a Day of the Dead specifically, I have a complicated relationship with in the media, specifically because I would like to work in media, and I hate that everything that is Mexico is Day of the Dead, and that's it. Like, that's all you see. So my qualms with it and my concept of gatekeeping being acceptable are more so along the lines of ensuring things are done properly, because as someone who does take interest in other cultures and other languages and other heritage and other everything, because there's a lot of world, you know, there's people that are like, oh yes, my country is the best country, or my city is where I will, no, stop, why? There's so much to explore. And so as someone who thinks like that and who surrounds themselves in people who are also interested in furthering the concept of being cultured and being well educated, it sucks to see that in recent years, particularly in the U.S., not in America, in the U.S. in particular, because people will feed into the consumerist capitalist ideology of a culture, whether it's a musical instrument made very cheaply by, like, you know, unethically sourced labor, or seeing sugar skulls on everything. It kind of devalues it, and people don't have that connection. And so my problem with cultural appropriation as a term is that it's too broad, and I definitely think that you should learn about other cultures and that you can share cultures, because that's what's cool about it. Because otherwise, what is really tying you together to other people? You know, at that point, go live on your own and create your own traditions. I as usual pick issue whenever it turns consumerist, whenever it's sold, whenever it's marketed as a trend rather than as a, you know, cultural pillar to somebody's existence. Like, if I see somebody that wants to do sugar skulls and learn about why we have marigolds everywhere and learn how to play mariachi music, I'm like, by all means, homie, go ahead. I love that you're interested in my culture. Show me something about yours. But whenever I have to go to the store and pay $20 for a sugar skull that I could have bought from, like, someone who is, for example, like, from actual Mexico, and would sell it to me for like $3 because that's what it costs to make it. Like, I don't want to pay $20 to someone that's not connected to this at all. Same goes for, like, you mentioned the musical instruments. It's interesting when you see like a cheaply made version.
I think it's because it's inevitable, which is why we have to gatekeep. Like, you can't tell me anything new that comes up that could, like, people could moderately, like, agree with or, like, want to do. You can't tell me it's not going to immediately become, like, it's going to be marketed towards consumers immediately. Like, you tell me that's wrong. Like, that's something inevitable in this time and age. Like, we can't escape that, sadly. Which is why I think that certain, like, things like this matter. Or, like, we really need to focus on, like, you're, like, not appropriating culture, but, like, it's just hard. It's just, like, it's so hard to, like, nowadays, like, making sure people don't misconstrue information, making sure they get the right thing, they actually educate themselves. So,
well, that's a good segue into the next hot take, which we were going to talk about, which is cancel culture, unless you wanted to add something more to.
I think it was just, like, adding on to her point that, like, for one point, I took a course in, I think it was, like, studies in, like, religions in East Asia, and obviously you remember that class because of and I learned a lot about Hinduism and Buddhism, and I really, like, I'm interested in Buddhism and, like, learning about everything, but in a very respectful manner of learning, like, what their, like, statues represent and, like, what their deities and everything, like, you know, what they mean in Hinduism and Buddhism. But I think something that, like you said, consumerism, it's like people that they are somewhat into spirituality but don't understand Buddhism or Hinduism, they buy the statues of Buddha,
Mm-hmm.
and they buy like particular ones and they make fun of the way that Buddha is, bigger, or like people who buy like, I forgot the name, but they're like Hindu gods,
Mm-hmm.
and then just have them in their living room as like an aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that's so disrespectful, because like people who actually do practice those religions, they're sacred to them.
Yeah.
Like if you were to like include a portrait of like the Virgin Mary in a disrespectful tone, for me, that as like someone who used to be Catholic, it's like, no, like, if you're not gonna do it with like an intention to like actually learn about what
Yeah.
each figure means, it's wrong to do so,
Right.
So that was kind of adding on to her point.
No, yeah, and it makes sense too, because it's like if you like the aesthetic of a certain culture, a certain country, a certain people, they sell decorations. They make decorations. The people who belong to that culture and who claim it will make you something that'll look dope in your house without you having to take something that is symbolic and twist it, which continues to be a good segue into the concept of cancel culture, because a lot of times you see something and it looks dope and you just kind of want to have that be around you. And unless somebody tells you, how are you supposed to know that it has a deeper meaning? Of course, it's nobody's job to educate anybody else. But as people, how are you going to know if somebody doesn't make you aware? And so, again, I'm more so on the side of thinking that everyone deserves a chance to learn and grow. And it sucks because some people say and do some messed up things. But until they're called out and held accountable for it, maybe that's the wake-up call that they needed. Thoughts?
I think I don't think cancel culture should exist, but I think that, I know Yami is going to say this, but accountability is what matters. But I think especially now, though, people don't know how to be accountable. So I don't like they're going to face the repercussions of not being accountable, but not taking responsibility. But like sometimes when I see them like facing that repercussions, I don't know if sometimes I see cancel culture as them like the repercussions of not being accountable, but like I don't think most people know how to like properly be accountable, to be honest. Like I truly think like most statements by companies, most statements by schools, most statements by any institution, they aren't like
SGA. This is full tea.
I mean, true. Like, I think people truly need to understand another thing with accountability, especially transparency. People don't know how to do that either. Because, like, if you can't be transparent after whatever incident you had, your accountability is already gone. Like, if you're not able to tell the truth after, or like even speak upon something or delete a post, when you silence people, that's truly where like, oh, like maybe like that's not me approving cancel culture, but that's just me saying like sometimes you do need to understand, like sometimes it is not cancel culture. It's you literally just like not facing what you did.
Yeah, people like to act like calling someone out for it, and calling someone out is also kind of its own monster of a topic, right? But I guess in essence, pointing out to somebody that they did something wrong, right? Not necessarily public execution, right? But just like, hey man, you probably got some learning to do. People act like, oh, you're canceling me. It's like, no, dude, you're not getting canceled if you're not going away. It's just like, be aware that what you're saying and or doing is going to be taken in a different way than you intended for it to. So simply do better, It's not hard to apologize and mean it, and it's not hard to correct yourself when you did do something wrong. Of course, there's going to be people telling you that you're doing something wrong, and maybe you aren't. Maybe you're just kind of living your own version of the truth, of your own version of what is correct. But whenever you are just turning a complete like blind eye, a deaf ear to any and all criticism, that's where it gets dangerous, because you become your own echo chamber, if that makes sense. Yeah. And people are more interested in covering their tracks than in it's more so where people begin to cover their tracks rather than move on from the past that it gets also tricky, I think.
Yes, I agree.
So like I've never really been a fan of cancel culture. I think it's something that can be very dangerous. Because I think the biggest thing to take away is that as individuals, we grow. So, like, I'm not the same person I was, like, a month ago, and you can attest to that, and, like, 2 months ago, and so forth. I think as humans, we each evolve, and we all make mistakes. Like, I know I did something in middle school when I was, I wasn't aware of the impact and how important the N-word or how hurtful it could be, like, to use. And I just shared one post about it, and I remember my friend not calling me out, but being like, hey, like, you really shouldn't use that word. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, I didn't know. Took it down immediately and owned up to it. And from there I learned. But it's something that, like, as a like dumb 13-year-old, I didn't know any better, so like if someone were to go back and hold me like and be like, oh my god, you did this, I'm like, yeah, but like if you know me now, like, you know who I am, and like how, like, I don't stand for using that word, unless you're from that community, from the like Black community, or people who, like, reclaim the word. And so I think it's like if someone makes a mistake 10 years ago and they, like, it resurfaces and they, like, acknowledge, I'm sorry, but genuinely mean it. And like Socheata said, not a fabricated, like, publicity stunt apology, but they actually own up to it, say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I won't do it again, I've learned, I'm a different person, X, Y, and Z. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how we evolve. I think the biggest thing with cancel culture is bandwagons. People who aren't educated on a topic, they just hop on whatever's popular then. Yeah. So, like, take, for example, I don't know, like anything with any celebrity. Like, if one person on the internet who hides behind a fake photo or anything says one mean thing to a person and makes a false accusation, they destroy someone's life. But because they jump on the bandwagon and don't actually do the research, it's like
the ASAP Rocky and Rihanna.
Sure.
Yeah. The designer came out making a statement, was like, the whole thing, and I'm like, and it's so true. People
resort to, like, hating first and not, like, listening to, like, an official statement. And okay, this may be
people
like
need to be more Aquarius about it, man.
Ow. My glasses. Yeah, like, if you were to take, for example, the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp situation. Yes. I don't remember it clearly, so I didn't really have an opinion because I'm always like, believe the victim. So, but in that situation, like you said, my Gemini or whatever.
Your Libra and your Gemini placement said, yes, I think that this is proper.
I was like, I will remove myself from this opinion. Yeah. But, like, when the statements came out and she had claimed that Johnny had physically assaulted her, and it became this whole thing. Everybody jumped on that we hate Johnny Depp wagon. Yeah. And every brand dropped him. He lost millions and everything was horrible. Because at the time we were in the Me Too movement, and Amber Heard used that to her advantage. She manipulated the public. And so, everybody's like, we believe the victim. So we believed Amber Heard because we're like, you wouldn't have somebody like do that, make those claims that were, hurt millions of other people who are sexually assaulted. Like, people gave her the benefit of the doubt. Like, evidence comes out later that Johnny was actually the one being abused. And I think he had done so. I'm not entirely clear on the situation.
The last that I had seen, from what I was able to gather in, countless Twitter blurbs and articles, is that she had been the one that had been violent towards him.
She had been really, really mean to him.
Yeah. So,
and the thing that makes me so upset is she looked Johnny in the eyes. What do I know? And this is what I heard from the court documents. And she told him, no one's going to believe you. Yeah. Because he's a man.
I
was like, ma'am.
Right.
Exploitation of, like, movements, like, especially, like, during the Me Too movement where, like, people, like, would lie. And it's just like, why?
Why are you exploiting?
Yeah, like, are you? Like, how pick me are you if you're literally exploiting like a movement to empower people who have been, like, sexually assaulted or whatever.
And people will do this for anything. We saw it as well with the BLM movement of people kind of doing it just to be like, I did my part. And it's like, dog, no one's saying that you have to post every day. No one's saying you have to be at every march. Simply be aware of the situation, and that's enough. You don't have to be like, look, guys, I care. Look at my post. I care. Because then you started seeing people saying, if you're not speaking out, you don't care. You aren't involved. You're a part of the problem. Silence is violence, which is a phrase that was kind of taken and ran away with as a way to attack people for not expressing support in the same way that they do. And the thing is, if you have everyone shouting, like, and everyone making their voice the loudest, no one's being listened to because it just kind of becomes chaos and it becomes kind of sidetracked to the original issue. So, for example, like you're saying with the Me Too movement, people started being like, oh, but, like, what about this and what about that and what about... And it's like, hold on, homie. Like, this is because of one person that had something and happened in their life, and they were like, hey, we should do something about it. We should draw attention to this. And so it's one thing to empower people to be like, hey, you're not alone. This is the support group. You know, it's millions of people involved now. And it's another thing to start seeing people get canceled left and right because of, like you said, like false allegations or people dragging stuff up from 10, 20 years ago and being like, this is bad enough though. And it's like, if you're so adamant on just exiling somebody for something they did or said wrong and they have since already addressed it, already dealt with it, are working on themselves, it's like, let people... No, I was just like, let people work on being better, because if you're going to just outcast someone and be like, you're a bad person, what option are you leaving them other than to be like, fine, I guess I'm the bad guy, you know?
I think in most cases, sadly, or in like cases like near me, at least, where it's like, this you, like, didn't you do this? They aren't being held accountable, or even worse, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is why I think that in like cases, like in my cases, it's not cancel culture. It's just you truly choosing to be a bad person. Because like there are like cases where like people said the N-word, they're just like racist incidents, and like people be like, this you, like that's happening a lot right now, and like where I'm from and whatever, and it's just like they truly don't care, or like they won't acknowledge it. They'll like delete their accounts, or they're just low-key like, yeah, no, people, you know how people like delete their social medias, they'll, you know, delete their accounts, they'll delete their posts so you can't comment, they'll turn off comments. That's not like accountability. Like obviously we know that, but I think that when, or at least when common day people, like regular people, would be like, when you've been this you'd, people like immediately just do that versus just being like, yes, I accept that I do things. So it's like, do they deserve certain backlash? No, I don't think most people deserve, like no one deserves to be like, you know, what do they do, like releasing your addies and stuff. I don't think that should happen.
Doxed,
yeah, getting doxed. But like I do think like you need, like, people, you can be I would criticize you. Like I will probably be like, yo, this person's like, what the heck? But like that's not me. Like
you should approach things critically though.
But yeah, but this is like when you do, like when you're actually, I feel like, a bad person.
Yeah.
But like, yes.
Yummy. You look like you were gonna say something and then you didn't.
Cause some things that get me in trouble.
No, this is
no, not in trouble like this, but like people who like, it's complicated. But
you can talk on any and all issues. I will talk on any and all issues.
My thing is always like you brought up the, like, you know, we brought up the Me Too movement. And something that like I think like just the whole Amber Heard thing really makes me upset. One, because it invalidates the abuse that Johnny went through because he's a male. And obviously, like, I have 2 younger brothers. God forbid anything like that ever happened to them. Yeah. I don't want them to ever feel like society won't care for them because of their gender. Like, it's so heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of men will commit suicide over those situations. And it's like, no, like, do not, like, let's destigmatize it. Like, let's, like, you know, empower both. At the same time, it's like you have people who are women who come forward, who identify as women, who come forward about being, you know, sexually assaulted in any way, shape, or form, and people don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's like, it has to be a certain way for them to validate that experience.
It's a double standard.
Yeah, and it's like, if I don't have bruises on my body, you won't believe that I was. And it's so heartbreaking that people can pick and choose how they choose to, like, you know, side with that.
Well, and so that's kind of where we circled back towards gatekeeping, and people want to gatekeep an experience. People want to gatekeep trauma. People want to gatekeep essentially your right to claim that you went through something significant in your life. Because if my entire experience has been like, dog, like, I have just been through the ringer, everything that has happened bad could have happened bad, and you had a bad day, that doesn't mean that your bad day wasn't any less bad just because I had it worse, you know? And that goes for these situations too, because you have, especially when it comes to court cases, you have things that are dismissed because they're not deemed significant enough. But like, it's like, just because Johnny Depp is a straight white man with money, it doesn't mean that his experience is any less important for anyone to be aware of or to deal with. Yeah. And like, it's his reputation at the end of the day. Like, you can't drag somebody's name through the mud and be like, oh, but he'll be fine because he's in a part of the privileged majority. It's like, no, dude, that's still a human being. That's still a person. And this is bad for them. Like, you have to think of it in the terms and in the context of their life.
Yeah, for me, like, the whole reason it makes me so upset, and like to basically close the argument that I made like 2 seconds ago, is just that, like, she went and, you know, she like claimed bruises, X, Y, and Z. She, like, when she did that, she invalidated the experience of so many women who struggled to come forward about their experiences, because in the moment we all believed her. We were like, oh my God, like, you know, we choose to support her for what she's going through. And then turns out that she's not. And it's like, you literally have silenced with your actions so many women who will not come forward now because they will not be believed. And now you've also silenced so many men who won't come forward now. So it's like the accountability that she has to take for what she's done.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to cancel her. That's just, but you know, like, I don't, like, unless she truly changes and is held accountable, and she acknowledges the damage that she's done and, like, you know, has like consequences for it, I don't think that she should still be an Aquaman. I don't think she should still be signing with labels and working with other companies.
Because
like that.
Johnny Depp was cut out from future projects because of what was said originally, and now that it's been revealed that all of it was, a great part of it was false. And for her to still keep these deals and her to be the one that they're forgiving, it's like, where is the line? Is it just because she's the woman in the situation? You know, we're in a very support the minority mentality right now, because that doesn't matter. A bad person's a bad person regardless.
I agree. I agree, especially with what Yami said. What I was gonna say on this topic literally flew my mind. Dang. What were you just saying? Like, literally a sentence ago.
A sentence ago, I was saying about the reputation.
Amber Heard,
yeah.
I think, okay, this one's about accountability. I think accountability is a two-way street. I think it's similar to forgiveness, where, like, you need to be able to need to be willing to ask for it, but, like, you need to understand that it's not you making a statement isn't you being, like, suddenly accountable. You need other people's opinion to know, like, or like you need whoever you offended, like, that community, you know, like, you need their, like, you need what they want, you need their forgiveness, you need their, like, you need them to hold you accountable, not you doing that to yourself. But another thing with the Amber Heard situation, with, like, all that, is obviously it's a major double standard, but I think I don't know, because, like, every time I think about, like, double standards in general, I always go to, like, when it comes to sexual assault, like, which, like, with the Me Too movement, I always think about, when it comes to celebrities at least, when it comes to a male artist and their sexual assault allegations versus a woman's, what Valentin Martinez went through versus the guy from Panic at the Disco.
Wait, I don't know that.
Where everyone thought that Melanie Martinez was, like, had relations with, I think, minors, I believe. Canceled her immediately. What was it? My middle school, high school? I don't know what it was for y'all. But, like, we haven't heard from her. Like, a lot of people jumped off the bandwagon. But what was it? I truly don't know his name. A lot of celebrities, really. Brendan Urie.
Yeah, one of the guys in his crew, I believe.
Yeah, like, was not a good person. But, like, guess what? People are still gonna listen to their music.
People will still support Chris Brown.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just, like, I don't know. I think there's a double standard everywhere, and it's just, like, so, I don't know. How do you think?
I've seen some celebrities have a redemption arc because they genuinely, like, came out and they were like, dog, like, this isn't something that I was aware of. I thought I was just living my best life. Turns out.
But do you think most people can come back? Do you think Amber Heard can?
I don't think she can.
Again, I think, well, so let's start with, you know, people have their fan base that's going to stick with them no matter what they do, you know?
Yes, everyone has.
We had the entirety of the 4 years post 2016 as proof of that. But where I think it gets hard, it's like, how do you show that you are sorry and that you are working on it and that you now accept fault, you know? Because people are going to be like, oh, these are empty words or something. Because in people that I've watched and on I won't bother with names. There won't be anyone that y'all will know because it's like on the nerdy internet side. But there are people who are dropped from tournaments because of allegations. And it's like, if even in the video game industry this can happen, and then they try to come back on their own, you know, outside of a label, outside of a team, outside of the esports scene, and they still have their fans, but then they have, of course, on the internet, all of the backlash. Like, at what point has it been long enough? You know, because with some people it's merited, it's deserved. It's like, you are a bad person and you are ruining the reputation of everyone involved in your space, everyone that you represent, everyone who is in any sort of common category with you. But there's other people who it's like you mentioned, said something stupid on the internet 10, 20 years ago, and now it's brought back up, and now it's like, oh, you're a terrible person, get out of here. It's like, you can't equate situations. Like, you have to give people the chance to show you who they are, essentially. But once they do, believe them, because you know, once your true colors come out, that's it, you know.
Don't let a person have to tell you twice who they are.
Yeah, exactly. Which isn't to say people can't change, but in that moment you are seeing who they are and where they are at that point. So I don't know, I think some people could bounce back if they were to properly mitigate the public backlash, you know, because you also have people who try to come back, are not welcomed, and then they have another breakdown about it.
You know who I think is a good example of who did bounce back, but this is entirely like separate from the sexual assault.
Yes, I also have one.
Taylor Swift. I think with the whole Kanye, Taylor Swift, obviously, when I went on Taylor's Instagram, her comments were just snakes. And that girl took, like, what, a 2-year hiatus, came back, and
Reputation.
best, like, era of her musical career ever. And she's, like, smashing it. And she kind of showed, I was like, I don't know if she ever apologized, but she's like, I made a mistake, I admit it. And, you know, people still trolled her about it, but now it's kind of, like, forgotten. And now she's admired for coming back after she had been canceled by the internet.
Yeah. And
what was your example?
Go ahead.
I forgot.
Oh my gosh,
I'm so sorry, guys.
But that's a good point. Taylor Swift is a really good example of that. I hadn't thought about her in a while, actually. Yeah, because I mean, it also goes back to what you were saying about transparency. The problem with Taylor Swift was that there was definitely some stuff being hidden,
her movie too, I think.
She had a movie?
Miss Americana. I think it just showed like the writing of her movie and like what she went through after that. I think she talked about like a lot about her like her anxiety and stuff.
In any case, well, and that's the thing, you know, people are multifaceted, and whenever she started opening up about like what she was going through and how she was feeling, she got a lot of sympathy and compassion for that, which is like great, but it still seems like one of the most like widely known public scandals from national television was staged, and that because it was over originally this was all over the song, right?
Yeah, but I think Kanye had done her dirty so many years prior.
Kanye
when he interrupted her when she was receiving her big award, that was mad disrespectful, and people thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
and then you know that, and then I forgot what else. It's like he had done continuous things over and over for her. So it's
like and especially in the scene of celebrities and the internet, because on the internet, if you have an opinion, everyone's gonna know it, and the problem is that everyone says things all the time, and people react off the bat without really considering the full situation, the context of the situation, and the fact that a lot of celebrity stuff is stunted for publicity. You know, and so I think a big problem is that people don't take all this into consideration, and they're so ready to jump at someone's throat just because of one thing without considering there's a whole network of situations going on, and it goes way deeper than the what you saw on TV.
I think that if people like us can forgive a celebrity for something like that, then you can have the decency to forgive somebody else who's come forward and be like, I made a mistake. I'm the same person from 10 years ago. I apologize. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's like human decency. You know, be kind, compassionate, hear someone out. I've learned in therapy, you don't have to forgive someone when they apologize to you, nor do you have to take a person for who they are. You can just choose to listen, observe, and let it bounce off, you know.
That is a lovely statement, Yami. Well, our time here is drawing to a close. We have, as per usual, touched on a wide variety of topics. Are there any closing remarks, final statements, anything at all that you would like to say?
No, I think I'm good.
I think I'm set too.
All
Do
right.
you have anything?
Just don't let the Student Government Association silence the people of
Yes,
Eastern.
I will publicly say SGA, if anyone in SGA is listening, make sure your PR is allowed to do the PR job. This is in reference, of course, to the post about the mask mandate, a situation that was publicly mishandled. Cancel culture did not take over. SGA deleted the post, so they were in some capacity held accountable. Event was changed.
This is Karla saying this is to SGA, then staring right in my eyes.
You guys are
correct.
here.
I am an SGA. I didn't mention it at the body meeting. I think there's a lot of I think people underestimate.
It's a lot of act first, think later.
I agree. I think this especially happens. Well, I think accountability, not accountability, transparency is already big enough in like SJ in general. Well, in like most clubs, I feel like where like e-board always takes over, and I know like SJ is one of those where like e-board especially matters. So that
much like the real government.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, I truly didn't know about the event until I saw it on the story too, and like I'm the type of person where like I don't care what organization I'm with, I'm still gonna like be critical of it.
Yeah.
But I went back, I was like, I didn't screenshot this. I went back and they already deleted it.
Oh, I did. Don't worry.
Okay. So I was just like, so we're silencing people now? So I was like, okay. So I immediately went on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, perfect. Someone has a screenshot. I saved that. And then it was just like, dang, it was just unsettling.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And this isn't the first time that I think that an SGA issue has come up on my show, because like I said, I'll talk about anything with anyone. I believe in second chances. I believe in growth. I will sit here and talk to my worst enemy and be like, tell me where you're coming from, man. Like, I genuinely want to
should be a therapist.
understand. I considered it and then realized it was a lot of science.
What'd you say?
I think people should
seek therapy. Yes.
No, I do think people should
seek therapy and
yes.
don't underestimate
whether
your government.
Whether you need it or not, it's just useful.
Therapy's
but also,
amazing.
SGA is not sadly, but since it's moving in people, like people never really understand their role because everyone's moving in and out. Like, let's be real. Next year, you're not. Well, you guys are gonna be gone, but like entirely new people. This year's entirely new people, and it's just like wild. And they're running the school when we're
maybe in a few years they'll be different, and we can look back at it and be like, you know what, you grew, like you and as an organization, as a person grew, and that's all that matters.
Hopefully, everyone that joins to change the system from the inside is able to do that. If you guys ever want to come back to the show and do another hour on all of the things that are wrong with the government or the student government,
is
the place.
Government? Oh, I meant
Can I do a topic I want to talk about next time? Just
sure. Just a little teaser.
Just manifest.
The Gravity Falls to conspiracy theorist pipeline. To low-key anarchy pipeline, because you can't tell me when Bill Cipher came out and the third book came out, you guys weren't Googling.
Oh, of course.
I didn't watch Gravity Falls.
I watched it my first year with Raphael, who's been on the show. He forced me to watch cartoons, and I was like, why? And then I was like, oh, I understand now.
But yeah,
watch anime. Anime's amazing.
Yeah,
I did watch Avatar, although I know Avatar is controversial in the anime scene.
That's just like, I think anime and animated cartoon or like animated shows are
two different
I don't
things.
know.
Yeah,
they are though.
Yeah, I think they're very much different. What would I categorize?
We are over time. The people are saying they request another hour. Do you guys want another hour, or are we all tired?
I can do 30 minutes.
Yeah, I
won that line.
Well, so you have to commit to an hour slot.
I don't know. Do you want to?
I can. I like topics.
If anything, I'll leave like in 30 minutes.
It's fine. It's fine. Like I said, you guys are welcome to come back to the show anytime.
We have like 3 Sundays left.
That's 3 Sundays, you know? Yeah. There's options, and if not, I plan on keeping the show going after I graduate because I like doing the show. We love that. But this is the perfect segue into our final song called Vete, which is what we gotta do. We gotta leave now.
That's my song, by the way. You're welcome.
Yami, anything you want to say before we sign off?
This is shout out to my dad, not because of the lyrics, but because of the artist. He introduced me to him when I was 3. That's it. Love
All
you,
right.
Dad.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening. Socheata, thank you for finally being on the show. This has been like a year or two in the making. Yami, thanks for coming back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Less than a year, I would even say, because I was going to be her finale last year. So it's not even the end of
a year in the making. In any case, this is WECS 90.1 FM. This is Vete by Valentin Elizalde. I'm Karla with a K, signing off for podKast with a K. See you guys next week, same time, same station, new nonsense, new guests. Have a great week.